decided to go bad on me. So I'm back to broadcasting from my phone. But no worries, nothing is going to stop us from shredding. So that is why I'm struggling hard to get this through to you. And hopefully we'll shred soon. Come on. Come on, shred. Well, okay. I'll just move on to where the shredding tools are. Oh, look. I found a shredding tool. Let's see here if I can manage this. Okay, I'll put you here. Oh, there we go. Yeah. And you get to see my messy studio. Damn it. I was hoping to hide it. Whoop. Someday I'm gonna have to clean up my studio, but it won't be today, because now I'm gonna shred. Shred is important. Shred is a priority, as we say in the business. So just a second. Okay. So are you ready for the shred? Think I'm raising expectations here. So I've been working on some, well, I should say Yngwie-inspired kind of triplet riffing. I don't know if you know what that means. I'm not very good at it, but it's, I think, I don't know if the track is called Rising Force or something, I don't know. Something like that. But the thing is, you play 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Usually when we're riffing, it's like 2 or 4, right? So, what would that be? Oh no, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, do do. 1, 2, 3, 4, do do. 1, 2, 3, 4, do do. Or even 1, 2, like. But anyhow, let's try those triplets and see how they sound. So it's like. A lot of fun. So if this is way above your head, let me slow it down a little bit. So basically, I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, something like that. So I'm counting 1, 2, 3, and then I start over. Of course, if we want to go more challenging there, we could do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It sounds kind of special. But this is a good starting point. If you're not used to this, you can just play 1, 2, 3, 1, and then you get a little pause, which is super important whenever you're learning something new. So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now let's try just the standard, what would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, which is a bit more standard, I'd say. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Again, we want to make it easier. So instead of doing constantly 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, well, that's difficult. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then we can rest until the next group of 1, 2, 3, 4. So. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4 chord. And I'm playing these basic power chords. I'm sure you've seen them before. It's like 3, 5 or 2, 4. Oops, 2, 4. So there's always a fret in between. So, by the way, can you guys hear me? I've positioned you just over my amp, so maybe you're hearing way too much of something. I don't know. Let's see here. So that's just basically kind of short introduction to how you can think of note groupings when riffing. Mr. Blue, we can hear you. What do you think about Eric Johnson? Mr. Blue, I love Eric Johnson. He's one of my big influences, and I think nowadays it's kind of common practice to really be conscious about your tone when soloing. So in other words, it's no longer acceptable to have like bad hand sync. But when he came around, that was a bit new. You know, there are a lot of guys, especially guys, we should say, in the 80s, who got away with pretty bad hand sync, but still, were made guitar heroes. But Eric Johnson came around and he showed that if you pay attention to these details, a basic pentatonic run can just sound absolutely amazing. You don't need to go all fancy with your harmonic minor scales. And that's one big takeaway from Eric Johnson. You know, this kind of thing where he would do like, oops, but I need to warm up to really try to get close to his. So basically where you do 2 notes per string a lot of times, super fast, but also very clean. So, that's not very Eric Johnson-ish, but the beginning was. So he would do that kind of thing, right? He would do like broken up arpeggios as well. But if you want to, I can just show you the basic principle of playing those 2 notes per string fast Eric Johnson style. And the thing is here, the most important thing we've got to realize is that alternate picking is a tricky beast. So you're doing yourself a favor if you're being a bit conscious about how many notes you play per string. Because if you play an uneven amount of notes per string, you're going to have problems playing fast, to put it mildly. It's not impossible, but it's going to be harder. So if you play an even amount of notes per string, it gets easier. And the good thing with the pentatonic scale is that it has 2 notes per string, which is an even number. So that is why pulling off this kind of thing is not totally impossible. What he used to do these? That's it. They're like that's also typical Eric Johnson run. So how do we play these fast 2 note per string runs? Okay, so a few tools here. You might have heard of downward pick slanting. That is going to be your friend when you're playing 2 notes per string. So basically, it's maybe a bit of a fancy way of saying we're just kind of tilting our pick forward like that. So if we start with the pick parallel to the string like this, and then tilt it forward, then we get downward pick slanting. So like that. And then it all of a sudden becomes a bit easier because of the simple reason that when we pick something, all we need to do is reposition our pick to pick again. So it's like we're kind of double picking. We're getting an extra pick strike in between there. So again, angle forward and then back up. You you have two notes there. So that makes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So if you're playing a pentatonic scale, just to remind you, 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 14, 12, 15, 12, 15. There you have your pentatonic scale. So if you play two notes per string, you get that thing, right? Where you down, up, down, up, down, up. And you can keep this relaxed posture throughout as long as you're always playing an even amount of notes per string. So that's how I can kind of keep things going smoothly, like not totally in sync, but still you could see the relaxed hand posture there. So cool. So that's a long one, just because you asked about Eric Johnson. But I've been in the mood for these two note per string things, and I've been practicing them recently. I've been practicing them quite a lot, and I find it really helps me get back my picking chops. And that is definitely Eric Johnson inspired. Again, this relaxed hand posture is really neat for that kind of thing. Of course, Eric Johnson has a big bag of tricks, and he does other ways of picking as well. But there's a nice one. So no Eric Johnson anymore. We're back to triplet riffing there, and that's something I've been working on. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, that kind of stuff. Mr. Blue, talking about Eric Johnson tone, I think it is necessary to have an Ecoplex preamp pedal in your signal chain. Did you try the secret preamp by Chase Tone, for example? No, I haven't. Cool. We have mate number 2. Is that in something in an Asian language, I think? What's up? So maybe Ecoplex probably helps. I mean, he has a fairly complex chain, I guess, and he's very specific about his needs. He even has, specific thoughts about the types of batteries. But I think a major ingredient from his tone is his hand sync, and a lot of it actually comes from his fingers. That old boring saying, which is actually true. Let me see if I can fix it. I don't know if you noticed, but my sound is totally dry today. Sometimes you're just in a dry mood. So what I'm doing here, I'm basically jamming around, but I'm riffing, and not as I would typically do, which would be just like some big lead adventure, and then I would throw in a few chords in between just as an excuse to keep on soloing. I'm really leaning a bit more towards riffing now, not because I'm super, metalish right now, in the mood for metal, but I've realized that for me, riffing is just like playing solo, right? But you play it down here. However, there's one more difference, and it's the fact that we typically associate riffs with very like specific phrases, which are tightly interconnected with the rhythm. Whereas a lot of times when we solo, it's more loose, right? We can do whatever we want as long as we have a backing track and we somewhat keep in time. And that's the way I've always done it. But now I've come to realize that by practicing riffing and by practicing phrasing down here, I'm basically adding a much more rhythmic structure to my lines. So instead of playing my lines up here and disregarding rhythm, you know, like that, then I can play some lines here and try to be tight and be in time and think about you know, the periodicity, whatever that is, musical periods, basically. And that doesn't mean I can't throw in some lead lines as well. On the contrary, it can sound really cool, like. You like it very much. Thanks, man. Patrick, awesome. Luke, what's up, my man? So there you have it. Lots of improvised riffing. And as I just said, it totally helps me lock in with rhythm, and it really adds kind of that missing flavor which has been so hard to include in my lines, which is, you know, to play more rhythmic lead. Awesome, Luke. Really glad you like it. So I'll keep on doing it. And my current kind of short-term goal is to find a practice routine where I do these riffs and this improvised riffing and gradually start weaving in some soloing, so that my hope is that in the end of this, at the end of the tunnel, I will be able to just practice leads rhythmically, and there won't be a difference between rhythm and lead. Yeah. There went volume. So if you want to try this, you can really start simple here. It might look super fancy, but the basic idea, which is the important one, is really applicable regardless of your technical level or whatever. So that is just to start simple with some kind of rhythm. What could be easier than simple palm muting, right? So we play on the open low E string, we put our palm right where the string begins there, or ends, however you want to look at it. Like that. And then if you want to, once in a while, you can lift your palm and play a power chord. So just that in its own is really the essence of heavy metal. Just power chords, so 3/5 and 2/5. And this is a good foundation for what I'm talking about. And just try to go in between whatever you're working on solo-wise and rhythm-wise. Now I do realize this is not for the beginner guitarist, of course. So typically you would kind of work on those separately first, try to learn your first blues licks, or just a simple bend. And that kind of stuff. And if you want to learn that, well, of course, we have tons of content. You can just go back to any of my previous streams, and I speak a lot about that. But my point here is that you typically want to, when starting out, you want to practice these separately before you even try what I'm doing now, where you combine it. Patrick, I like single foundation. Feels so, it feels motivating to be like, yes, so easy. Yeah, simple foundation, exactly. And any good recipe you can come up with on the guitar or music in general is gonna have like a basic kind of skeleton or basic foundation. It really boils down to simple concepts, and then you can make it however complex sounding you want, depending on your technical level. And it's the same, when you're working on just strictly amazing, you want to be able to play amazing solos. Well, the foundation still has to be melody, right? Doesn't matter how fancy your solo is. If there's no melody as foundation, it's going to sound like crap. So yeah, good point there. Mr. Blue, yeah. Right now, I'm not a big fan of reverb. I've been a great fan of reverb and delays, just add a ton, and sometimes it's good. But I've come to the conclusion that I really like the attack part of the sound. And you can, of course, tweak your reverb so that it spares the attack. But in general, the more you drown or drain your sound with reverb, the less you're going to hear of those nice transients. I really like when you can hear some individuality in those notes, and the more reverb you add, or the more compression and distortion, the less you hear of that, and the more you're just playing a synthesizer after a while, where every note sounds the same. I'm not really a fan of that, and the last year I've been playing a lot of acoustic guitar and clean tones, and I've really stopped using effects, and I just basically listen to the strings, how they ring. And of course it's a challenge because reverb and distortion and compression, that stuff really helps you when you're playing, makes some stuff easier, but it also takes a lot of dynamics and stuff like that away. So yeah, right now I don't practice with much reverb, and for riffing it works pretty well. Cool. So Patrick has a question there about my pedals. Well, today it's easy because I don't have any pedals, or I don't use any pedals. So what do I use my AB selector for? I use it for whenever I want something more complex, like you know, sometimes I want to, speaking of reverb, maybe I've dialed in a really, you know, huge sounding tone with lots of reverb, but I still want to record it without reverb. And in those cases, it can be useful to split the signal so that I record the signal before I hit it with reverb. So I send that to the computer, and then I can still listen to the reverb, because you play very differently, you know, depending on your sound, right? If I have a sound that's gonna make two notes sound huge, as opposed to this sound where sounds kind of small, but you can, you know, have lots of reverb on that and it's gonna sound huge, and then that it's gonna make you play differently. So I think that's what I used it for last time, but I've had this one for a long time. I think I bought it a long time ago when I wanted to be able to basically, I think, was it something related to the Parker, which had two outputs? So it had like piezo pickups in the here, so I could get both a clean and an electric signal out, and I wanted to do something with it. I can't even remember. But nowadays, it has lots of purposes, and this is a good one. It's let me see if I can show you. It's actually, I think this is actually a high-end pedal, because it really, I've tested quite a bit, and it doesn't take away any of the sound. So that's what, but I don't, I mean, I don't use it now. So, and you can see my messy pedal board, but none of it is used now. The only thing I'm using right now is this channel, the Mark 1 channel. That's what I'm using. And it has a really fat sound. I do have the EQ on, which means that it has a slight V curve. Of course, it's not this EQ. I'm using the preset knob, so it's gonna give me like a V-sized EQ, but not extremely much. As you can see, I haven't really. So I'm channel 2, and this is the preset EQ. But this is all you're hearing, and it's a really nice gain structure, I think, Mark 1. It's basically the Carlos Santana distortion, but I haven't dialed it in that way. But it's really nice and rich and creamy and really cool. It works for riffing as well, but more like a chunky, if you're thinking kind of Metallica Reload and Load album, like a bluesy metal vibe. I think it works well for that. If I were to get some more heavier tones, I would definitely use channel 3, and you know, which has a Mark 4 John Petrucci style, and it has the Mark 2 C Plus there, which is, I guess, early Metallica. I don't know if you can tell, yeah. But right now, it's just this one. I found a really sweet spot there, and I'm using it. Cool. Orange Biasa, what's up? From Indonesia. Man, this is really crappy video quality today, but my Wi-Fi was out, and I couldn't really use my typical setup with the computer, so I'm just back using the phone today. I've been trying to, you know, get all my connections so I can start doing more high quality streams again. I used to do really fancy streams with 3 different cameras and stuff like that. I'm not sure I'm gonna go back to that, but at least a bit better than what we have now. But it works. And here you can hear the tone. I like it a lot. So if it makes you want to riff, then it's good. To me, you know, I don't really do any studio work or anything like that. I just record for my own lessons and my own purposes. Sometimes like marketing videos, but a lot of times it's just for my own pleasure and get inspiration. And to me, dialing in a cool sound is all about inspiration. So if it inspires you to play, then it's good. So let me see what Mr. Blue is saying. Did you replace the pickups in your Wolfgang guitar? Nice tone. Yeah, I did. And they were okay. not extremely bad, the stock ones. I mean, this is the cheaper, I think it's Indonesia made. It's not the higher end US made. But I'm in that respect, I think I would have changed the pickups anyway, because typically on these guitars you get high output pickups, and I like low output pickups. So what I did was I bought bare knuckle. I don't know if they're still around, this specific model, but they had like an entry level model. I think you can find them, and it's called Boot Camp. So it's basically still handmade bare knuckle, but it's much cheaper, and it's called the Old Guard, bare knuckle Old Guard. So it's a low output. So these are really kind of vintage low output, but it works, you know. It's still a humbucker, and I get all the dynamics, which I love. I don't have any problems with it. I think for some type of high gain sounds, you would maybe want to get something else, but for what I do and for the riffing I do, it's just perfect to have low output. And again, or I've said it a lot of times, if you have high output pickups, you can never get your dynamics back. But in this case, I can always remove my dynamics. I can always push the signal with a pedal or with a booster, no problem. So in most cases, I think you're off better with low output pickups. Unless you're, you know, you don't want to own a booster or something and you want everything in the guitar. But then again, if you want to play with a dynamics, it's going to be harder. Unless you have super high output pickups and you have like a coil split, like you can pull the knob like that, and you can plug that into coil splitting, and then it's going to be, might be okay, but it's still not the same as having real low outputs or single coils. Ooh, that's a long one. Okay, so I noticed that with this super dry sound, and you know, Mr. Blue even asked me about reverb there, but this sound is so dry, and it's a major challenge when you go into lead, because I think the riffing works well. But you can't really rest on any reverb and just allow yourself to, you know, that kind of thing would sound good with lots of reverb, but it doesn't now, so I just have to keep going. And I think maybe I'm better off with double stops or something like that. Yeah, I think that's better. So now that I don't have any reverb, I would rather play like double stops, like 2 notes at the same time, to just, you know, fill the space. Yeah, that works. Or what do you think? Isn't that a bit cooler? Yeah. I could plug in the reverb, but I don't want to, you know. The thing is, you know, I have a great reverb pedal here. I have the Strymon Big Sky, which I use quite a bit. But again, it doesn't inspire me as much. Sure, I could, you know, turn it on and off. That would be fine. And, you know, if someone put me in front of an audience now and I go, oh, play something, then I would probably want some help from the reverb. But it's just, as I said, I've been playing with a clean tone a lot, and now I've been recently finding my way back to distortion, but I still don't like to alter the tone too much. I like a bit of distortion, but I still want to try to keep it as organic as possible and as little as possible in the chain. So right now I'm happy with that, and in fact, as I was saying, you know, it's a cool thing to work on double stop. So a possible next short-term goal for me would be to practice with this kind of riffing, try to go into solo, but instead of landing on that typical single note line, which doesn't work well with this kind of sound, I would try to go from, you know, a run into a double stop. And I'm not sure I can do that. It's something I would have to work on. Yeah, to my ears, that's better. Let's try it again. So just to summarize, you know, the conclusions I'm reaching in real time here. Since my sound is so dry, and that's nice for riffing and it gives me an organic tone that I'm really looking for, but that leads to some slight complications whenever I'm resting on a note. So I'm trying to solve that now by playing a double stop instead, so two notes at the same time to kind of fill the space. Something. So Patrick is saying, do you ever use your A&B pedal for that too, to keep your sound cleaner, clearer than it would be with a bunch of turned off pedals without full bypass? Yeah, that's a good purpose. Right now, my pedals are not even in the chain now. So I have a separate chain that I would plug them in just straight into the computer. So they're out of the chain right now. But I could do that, though I find that it's okay, you know, if your pedals are of good quality and you have, you know, like a buffer in the chain. A lot of, you know, most of the Boss pedals, for example, have a built-in buffer. I found it doesn't deteriorate the chain that much. But if you introduce a really crappy pedal, then yes. So, but I could use them for that. It's a good idea, actually. And there are some cases I've thought about it. Anytime you want a more complex setup, I guess that A&B pedal can come in really handy. So again, I think this sound really lends itself for experimenting with non-power chords. So what I did there could be interesting. I was playing thirds there. So, you know, what you hear these new guys like Matteo Sosato, and they play neo soul, a lot of, you know, moving around thirds and stuff like that. And you can do that when riffing as well, especially if you don't drown your sound in lots of effects. So I could actually show you an example of that. I'm just going to see what Patrick is saying. I think my Boss CS3 compressor dulls down my sound. only have it in the chain when I want crazy sensitivity and sustain for kill switch stuff. Yeah. I think that CS3 I think is actually a known pedal. I'm not sure it's really one of those cheap pedals that totally kills your sound. But are you saying when you have it in bypass mode that it sucks out the tone from your signal? Because if you mean when you engage the compressor, then that's a different story, of course. Compressors have a tendency to totally alter the sound. But if it sucks out the tone from your bypass, when you have it bypassed, then it's a problem, yeah. Then you could consider either getting another compressor, or you could maybe invest in a good A and B pedal. I don't know which one is best for your situation there. But if you want to try these thirds, let's check them out. So I'm playing actually in the key of, well, I guess we can say E minor here, which allows me to riff on that low E note, right? Or to chug. So I'm chugging that string, and I'm trying to, it's a bit of a challenge because I'm skipping the A string, and then I play thirds on the D and the G string, which are in the key of E minor. And if you don't know that scale, I can just help you out now. I'm playing this one, 7 on the D string and 5 on the G string. There's a minor third, and I move down to a major third, which is 5 on the D string and 4 on the G string. So whichever rhythm you want, or maybe, you know, all of them work. And then finally, I could move down all the way to the 3rd fret and play the 3 and the 2. So we get. So if you're just starting out, you could just do. If you're just starting out, you can also tune your guitar. I think I had a bit too much fun with the whammy bar. So there's hard-on evidence that playing with your whammy can be dangerous. Whammy. No pun intended. Sorry. Yeah, the dive bombs are worth it. Okay, so what I wanted to say that even if you're starting out, you could attempt this kind of thing where you play on the low E string with the pick. And then you play the 7 and the 5th fret. That's a good start. So, and you can also, just that works. Again, if you don't have too much distortion and stuff, you can really play lots of notes together. Of course, then you can get fancy with it. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on, kind of weaving the rhythm into the lead parts in a cool sounding way, and that works without all this reverb and stuff. Do you still use the picks made from steel? Yeah, I do occasionally. Do you ever break a string because of steel pick? That's a good question, actually. I do use these quite well sometimes still. The thing is, it's really strange, but it never fails me. It always seems to be true in my case. These steel picks give extra brightness. Well, that's a fact compared to plastic. But that extra brightness gives me exactly what I need for most of the high gain sounds in my Kemper. But now I'm playing a real amp and I don't need them really. Let's try it. Well, actually, it sounds kind of cool though. I don't know if you can hear the difference, but there's a slight difference in brightness there. As I said, I don't really need them with this setup. It's mostly with the Kemper. And no, I haven't broken strings as far as I am aware because of these. I don't break strings that often. Most of the time I need to change the strings because they get bad. I have a lot of hand sweat. However, these picks do wear down against the string, so I'm not really sure which is hardest, this aluminum or whatever it is, or the string. And what happens when you play these picks a lot, or when you played it for like 10 minutes or something, especially if you do like fast picking, then you tend to get all gray on the thumb, so something is released from the pick. Yeah, exactly. I would rather say that, like Patrick said. I would say these steel picks actually make the old strings maybe come to life better, because they do add that brightness which old strings tend to miss, right? They sound kind of dull. You know, I can't say it's the exact same frequency or anything like that, but yeah, a bit brighter for sure. The thing is, basically, what I'm paying for in picks is to keep this point alive for as long as possible. And steel picks are not worth the money in that perspective, because I do wear down these points. I mean, a new one, or a fairly new one, let's see if I can find one. Oh, here's an old one, and here's a new or not used one. Here's a worn one, I should say, and here's a one that's fairly fresh still. But I use them, I do wear them down just like I do with plastic picks, but the plastic picks cost like a tenth or 20, like they're so much cheaper than metal picks, so I still go for these. At least when I can't hear a big difference in sound. So some groove metal. Someone asked me for that, I think it was yesterday, and I realized that when you play groove metal, what you really need is the pentatonic scale and that blues note. So if you want to try this out, so if you know the E minor pentatonic scale, you might have seen this, right? That basic scale box. Well, you can play down here as well. But in this case, you don't need to fret where the fret 0 would be. So you just need to fret this part. It's the same scale, and that works really well for... but you can add that flat fifth as well. So the first fret on the B string, and then you get a really cool sounding scale for riffing those groovy stuff. It might be the Back in Black riff, I'm not really sure about it. Why is that cool? Well, not only does it make you want to groove and dance, but I find that I kind of set the mood with a riff. So if I want my lead playing to be bluesy and groovy, then it's preferable if I can start with a riff that also conveys some grooviness. So went into something else there. Exactly, Patrick. This is a really good mood setter, and I do it for my own. If you just imagine sitting on your own and someone tells you play something, and you played all the riffs and whatever, and then you can't think of anything else. Then how do you sort of trigger your inspiration and your imagination, I should say? Well, for me, starting with just I think it's almost like I'm visualizing a song, right? So the song has this riff, right? So, and what would the lead do in that song, or what would the main melody be? And that's a way to visualize soloing. So it's just like a mind trick, right? I'm trying to trick myself into coming up with stuff while my head is empty. That's pretty much the idea. Oh, Marilyn Manson, right? The beautiful people, the beautiful people. It sounds like that. It's all relative to the side to just get. I think there's some of that in, though I haven't really transcribed the riff, so I can't tell you. Cool. So there's a chance I might be interrupted now, and I'd have to end the stream because I know half of my family is leaving to somewhere, and maybe I will get my youngest daughter in here. I don't know that at this point. So I'm just going to say a few words in case I have to abruptly end the stream. I hope not. But then it's been a pretty cool session here because we've been exploring things together, and that's pretty cool. I really like to change my routine and my kind of strategy in real time, and that's what we've been doing here with your help. So that's really cool. And of course, if you want to join the next stream, I'm here on YouTube, but I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, so you should probably follow us there as well, the GMC Guitar account. I just wanted to leave a little note there, but we're not done yet. So what do we do now? We groove some more. A good dad is what matters, yes. I walk this way. So. So if that is the riff, then it's 5, 6, 7, 7. Like that, 5, 6, 7, 7. Starting from the 5th fret here, and then the same thing, but you end with a 0. Walk this way. We could invite an AI bot as well. I think we did Yngwie out of that. So maybe we can mix some Aerosmith with Megadeth. It's like this one. I don't know that riff, but that's a cool combination. I hadn't thought of that. I can't play it. Back to Megadeth. I don't know. I should learn these songs before I try to play them. Can't do that. What do we do now? Maybe you guys have a request for me. So is there anything in particular you would like me to cover? Maybe you have something you're working on, or maybe you have some question about previous stream, something that isn't entirely clear. Put some Sabbath. I don't know. I can't play it. Has he lost? Sorry. It's cool. I like it. I had something maybe not right with it. What's the other one? Finished with my woman cause she... How does that start? I don't remember the riff. And also, I'm not comfortable enough with this switch here. I only have, it's this guitar and the Les Paul, I think, that have the switch up here. So I'm always searching for it down here. But a lot of times, you know, when you're riffing, you want to be using this pickup, right? Or a lot of times you want to be using that pickup. But for a lot of leads, especially like tapping high up here, I'd much rather use this pickup. So that's, I should probably practice it. So. Yo, da 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 doom doom doom. I got it now. That's the riff, right? Paranoid or whatever it's called. Da 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 da. No stupid questions here, Patrick. Just ask. I'm gonna make some food. Keep listening. Okay. Da 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 da. Finished with my woman can she? Couldn't help me on my mind. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. Oh. That would be cool if I could nail that and have that as a... There we have my practicing there. So start with that Eric Johnson style run and then try to switch to the bridge pickup. Let's try it. No. One more time. Oh, so hard. Okay, so if you want to know what I'm doing there, so on the bridge pickup, I'm playing the pentatonic scale here. 1, 2, 1, 2. And as I said in the beginning of the stream, whenever you have 2 notes per string, it's a little bit easier to play like fast as opposed to 3 notes per string is harder because it's uneven. So I'm playing 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So 3 notes there on the last one. So, and then I have a split second to switch this pickup to switch to down and then play an open E chord. And I can't do it because I'm crap. But let's try it again. No. One more time. So that's a cheating version. Atawood, what's up, my man? One more time. Ah, I can't do it. Okay, so let's see. I remember seeing this video about monkeys talking to each other to Funky Town. What would it sound like if gorillas are doing it while a third waltz is playing in the background? And does it involve a tuba? That's a tough question. I don't know. How does a gorilla sound on the guitar? I would definitely pick like a groovy riff for that. So what we did earlier. So I guess it would be Marilyn Manson then. Maybe gorillas do like... That's a gorilla sound to me. Oh yeah, you're right. They took each other to Funky Town, so it's definitely funky. This is when the chimpanzee entered the scene. That sounds a little bit gorilla-ish to me, like that. And it still has a little bit of funky groove, though maybe more of a gallop thing. I'm in gorilla mood now. Cool. So this was a really fun session. Thanks for all the feedback, especially you, Patrick. A lot of cool questions and thoughts coming from you. But I'm happy to see we have some traction here. And of course, I think if you do come up with some question or anything you think would be interesting to speak about, do save it for the coming sessions. There'll be more. And as always, if you want to get my personal teaching, you will find it on the GMC website. And until then, have a good one. and see you soon, guys. Cheers.